We gon' celebrate and have a good time. Well, it's time.
Stefan, hello.
Hello. Good to see you.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Hello.
Wow, there's a lot of people.
Beverly, hello. Curtis. Owen. Evelyn. Samuel and Ant.
We're still getting the last ones in the room, but maybe you could start, all of you, to just write in the chat from where you're from today, where you're looking in from, so we get an idea. Malaysia, UK, Germany, Switzerland, Scotland, Holland, wow, Singapore. Can't even follow, that goes fast.
Switzerland.
Austria, the Scottish Highlands, India, Cambodia, great. Ghana, wonderful. More from Ghana, hey, great. Always when I hear that kind of music, I want to shout out, "Are you ready?" But I don't expect you to answer me. Hey, welcome so much to this third SF24 conference, Building Hope, Empowering Change. The third, it's amazing. I mean, this is a huge global conference. I see some faces I recognize. There's some faces I've never seen before, so new and old, and people have been on the scene that I haven't discovered yet. So a very warm welcome. My name is Jesper Christiansen. I'm a solution-focused coach, team coach, trainer, large group facilitator, whatever you call it. I'm from Denmark, living in Switzerland, with also my German-speaking family. So I'm not bilingual, I'm bilingual. So I'll probably make some speaking mistakes along the way. I hope you can forgive me. I'm going to take you through the next 30 minutes. I'm going to show you some boring stuff about the technical details and about the program, so you can have a big picture and overview. We have actually over 750 participants this year. Can you imagine that? And Paul just told me that they were throwing out the link to everybody. So we even have even more that we don't know yet who are participating in this conference. The first half hour is the opening plenary. So after the boring part, the real fun part comes, and that is I have a special guest called Chris Iveson. And for those very few of you that don't know him yet, you are in for a real treat, because I'm allowed to get some minutes with him and to talk a little bit with him about the changes that have happened in the solution-focused approach and how the evolution have gone, seen from his point of view. But as promised, just very quickly, very shortly, I will show you some Zoom hygiene. I'll just go down there and say this one. For those of you who are not that welcome, as I can see on the pictures, it seems like most of you are on a computer. And this should be how it looks like for you. You can mute yourself, and please do so. In this half an hour opening plenary, you won't be saying much, but I will ask you to write something in the chat here and there. So take off your microphone, you can scream and shout all you want, and you won't be disturbing the other ones. The chat, of course, is very important. And on the right side, you can see you can choose to chat privately. If you meet someone and say, "Hey, Jerry, great you're here again. Like your joke last time we met. Can you tell it again? I don't want to hear to this guy who was just doing the opening." Or you can write in to everybody at once, and I will ask you to do that a couple of times. Right now, you're just seeing me. I'm spotlighted. So if you hit the choose gallery view, you will still see me. I'm sorry. But when I'm off, you will see everybody, and you will get an idea on who is here. If you are on a smartphone, a tablet, it's a bit different. You have to tap somewhere on the screen. You have to click the 3 dots, and then you would go up and find the chat function. This is our most important tool at the moment. Yes, that was about it. And Paul actually gave me quite a good hint. If you can go up and find yourself, and you can click the 3 dots, if you move your mouse, not your mouth, but your mouse up to the 3 dots, you can say on your own picture, I must say. So you can go and you can find the function saying rename. So please add after your name the country you're from. So we got an idea. Now we have this huge range of chats going on from where you are from, but now rename and just maybe write your city or your country where you're from, and then people have an idea and really sense that this is a global conference. What else? What else? Yes, more of the boring stuff. I'm going to show you, and this is quite important. I'm just going to get ready for this. Yes, I'm going to show you. There's this one, and I don't know, Andrew, can you help me to put the link to the Padlet in there in the chat so people have it at hand? Here we have the overview, the map of the conference. Since it's going on for 24 hours and you are in different time zones, you might not be interested in everything, but you'll be interested in where you are at the moment. You click one of the bubbles here and you click again on, for instance, here in Europe, we're starting in Europe and Africa here. A new window will open up, and you can see here that you have a conference program on the right side top. You can click on that, then you have a brochure. You have a PDF file where you can download it and look at it, or you can just read it through where all the descriptions of the workshops are here. And it's a really amazing diversity here. It's everything from family work, therapy, to coaching, organizational development, even talking about climate change, talking about gender issues. I took a quick look at it, and there's so many interesting things. And probably you will be a little bit stressed because it's for 24 hours and you're thinking, shoot, I have to drink a lot of coffee to go through this conference. But the experience from the other years is that it's going to be recorded. I mean, of course, you cannot get the interactions on the spot if you're not joining the workshop and go right in and have the discussion. But at least when it's in the middle of the night where you are, you will have a recording later. And throughout the years, what have impressed me most about this conference is all the watch parties that have been done. So re-watching the workshops and discussing, and I think most of them, the workshop holders have been participating there as well. So don't despair if you find a workshop that is especially attractive to you. There will be recordings of it, and we will do our best to put it on. What else? Yes, you can go through the program, and under each session here on the Padlet, you will find the links to the Zoom. And the workshop Zooms are 100 people. So first come, first served. Again, if you miss it, don't worry, it will be recorded, but there are some limitations on it here. By the way, you can see Chris on this picture had a really nice holiday. He's all red in the face, maybe not that healthy with all that sun, but anyway, it looks like he's really relaxing. What else? Oh yeah, this is a free conference. You don't pay anything. You pay with your time, of course, with joining. So I would like to just mention a few words about UK ASFP and SFIO, who have been so generous to help and support, because there are some technical things that cost money. There are some assistance that we have had with some experts who could help us with some issues. And this couldn't be done without their really generous support, both in marketing, but also with money. So if you don't know about these two associations, go in and look at them, click at them, donate some money. I know for SFIO, you can donate anything from 50 cents to whatever you want. Everything counts. And this also makes us able to do this with us. I'm talking as I was the organizer. I'm not. I was in here for opening this plenary. But hey, this is how SF works. You are feeling so welcome when you're getting in groups with these people. I would like to ask you, now we know a bit that you are from all over the world. We invite everybody, and especially, of course, people who are not working solution focused. We really want them to come and experience all these great brains who are here and all these bright ideas and everything that happened in the solution focused approach. So I would like to figure out, again, now you need to write something in the chat. I would like to figure out from a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 would stand for you know absolutely nothing about SF. It's a mere accident that you actually clicked some random link and now you're here in this open forum. Or 1 can be you're really curious. You heard about this solution focus. What is this? So you're in here. And 10, of course, would be that, hey, come on, I'm here to see good old friends. I actually feel that I just need inspiration. I don't need to know more about solution focus. I have a lot of years of experience behind me. Where would you rate yourself? Put it in the chat from 1 to 10, where 10 is that you are really good, well experienced. You could even take some of the newcomers in your arms and help them along the way to explain what it's all about. 65598 and wow. Yes, great. 28867. And actually it's about, and I like Anton writing, no, it was Susan Oster writing 8.5. Of course, yes. Don't take it all the numbers. Go really and think about it. And this is a bit cheeky to ask that kind of questions. I can't remember, and please let me know if you know who said that, but someone said, the closer I get to a 10, when we're talking about how good I am at solution focus and using it, the farther away I see myself. And of course, you discover new things all along the way. So yes, it's not all true, but it gives the other one. And my reasoning with asking you this question is all of you who maybe be on a 1, 2, 3 and thinking, ooh, take a scroll through the chat, look at the names, look at all those who are up in the high end. These are the people you go to. And let's say, hey, you're one of the experienced one. Can you inspire me a little bit? So, which in other words, this SF conference is not about presenters, it's also about community, really about connecting with each other. And I hope really you will do that out in the workshops, connecting with each other. We have asked the workshop holders to really try and be as interactive as possible, to activate you. So it's not about people telling you what's right or wrong, it's really a curiosity. The essence, to me, about the solution-focused approach is curiosity. So what else should I tell you before we go on to the other things? I look seekingly at the organizer. Did I miss anything? May I continue?
I was looking up for any questions in the chat where people can always put questions about what's going on. And I don't see any at the moment, so we can move on. Thanks very much, Jesper.
Good. Thank you. So I would like to invite Chris in. Chris Iveson. So Andrew, if you can. Yes. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Jesper. Thank you.
And you just returned from holiday, as I assume.
Did I? Oh, yes, a couple of weeks ago, a week or so ago.
Yes, it seems so far away. The one last year, I knew that Yves Lipchik was on the conference as one of the ones with a connection to the original, to Steve DeSacer and Inso Kim Berg, and talking about how it was then. And one of the things that always strikes me is this playfulness, sort of looking at solution focus and saying there's no right or wrong answers. We need to figure out. And when I look at how I learned solution focus many years ago, which you looked at, and I must admit in the beginning, I looked at it as a tool. You have to ask best hopes, and then you have to have the scaling questions, and you have the miracle questions. And it sort of changed along that. And we had a pre-conversation, Chris, where you mentioned something, because what stands out for me when you're working, you're really simplifying it, always with the client in the center, always being present towards the client. And we were asking about what are the changes. And yes, there have been changes, you told me, but you also said, but we're still true to the original. We're still close to the origin, to Steve and Inso. So I have two questions for you here in the beginning. First of all, I would be interested in hearing about, from then till now, what are the most significant changes seen from your point of view and in your work that have happened in the solution-focused approach?
A lot and none. As you were talking about learning it as a set of techniques, I just reached into a library here. And this was the very first book that Evan, Harvey and I produced before we met Steve DeShazer. In fact, we presented it to him and said, would you write a foreword? And he almost refused. He thought, this is a bit cheek. We've written a book about solution focus. But we learned it from his books, from Keys and Clues. And this, we reproduced this map of this, I think, from Clues. And that's how we used to do it. We were pretty faithful to this algorithm. If this, do that. If not, do the other. And it worked. So we were very, 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 very rigid, I guess, with following the techniques. And I think probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, I wrote a blog for the Briefs Facebook where I said that's how we should still be. We should still be pretty hot on the techniques, because that's what it's all about. That's how we apply the techniques. It's different, but it is techniques. It is something you can learn. That's one of the things that really drew me to solution focus. Not just the whole ethos, philosophy of it, was appealed to me, but also I thought, oh, I think I could do this. And though I was teaching family therapy at the time, I was quite sort of long experience of family therapy. I never actually believed I could do it. But with solution focus, I thought, oh, I can do this. So it's a bit pathetic, really, but I chose it because it was something that I could do. But also, what we realized, Evan and Harvey and I, is we could also, if it's that straightforward and simple, we can teach it in a straightforward and simple way. It's a very, very teachable thing. And as you'll know, as you're teaching, you learn so much because you're being asked about what you're doing. And the more you're asked about what you're doing, the more you have to think about it. And then, as Steve DeShazer would have loved, the misunderstandings develop, and misunderstandings lead to somewhere new. So I began with a lack of understanding of the miracle question. So when we wrote this book in 1989, I didn't know how to use the miracle question. I could ask it, as I mentioned, just like da-da-da-da-da-da, but I didn't know what to do with the client's answers. And then I saw Steve when he came to brief for the first time, and oh, that's what you do. You get a detailed description of everyday life. So I started doing that, and realized this whole idea of a miracle was somehow knew how to do it. It was a few years later that I looked back at this early work of Steve that had taught me how to use the miracle question and realized that I'd misunderstood it.
Okay.
He never went into any sort of detail at all.
Okay.
So I got into this detail, and at one time in Sweden, actually teaching in Sweden, I was showing some tape of a child protection case, and they were describing their breakfast, and I said, oh, what would you have for breakfast? And the person said, cornflakes. And someone in the group said, why are you asking that? Yeah, what's cornflakes content? I said, well, if the way you eat your cornflakes is part of the way you bring up your children well, that's really important. I mean, it's something you can do. And that person said, oh, so we have to do cornflake miracles now, do we? So we started calling them cornflake miracles.
Yeah.
To get this sense of it. So this detail was a significant shift. The other thing, in Steve DeShazer's Putting Difference to Work, he has a problem with the word problem.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to get rid of it. So he does this irritating thing every time he writes the word problem, he puts a line through it. So he was looking for a way to get rid of the problem.
Yeah.
And so were we. And it was a sort of invisible development that led us to shift from asking about the problem, and the miracle being the disappearance of the problem, to asking about the outcome and the miracle being the presence of the outcome.
Mm.
So instead of saying what's the problem, as I mentioned, the miracle takes it away, we introduced this what he best hopes, which was a slightly accidental. Again, I was interviewing a woman who told me this terrible story. I said, "Oh, what do you hope from this?"
Yeah.
In a very sort of flat, hopeless voice. Like, what on earth do you hope? What am I supposed to do? Kind of tone.
Yeah.
And I heard this tone. I thought that's a terrible tone. So I turned it around and said, "What are your best hopes?"
So what do you hope, and what are your best hopes? Yeah. Oh, okay.
And that became this shift. I think probably the most significant shift is from the approach being the resolution of a problem to the creation of a new future. And we started calling the future not goals, but the clients prefer the future the client would prefer to have, as opposed to the future that they seem to be heading towards.
Yeah.
So,
what I'm thinking, and here Margaret Keko just wrote, I think most of these developments started accidentally and survived because they work well.
Yeah.
And this is
and they survived because there was three of us and we could see each other and watch each other and see. I say something and never think of it again. Harvey sees it and think, "Oh, that's a good question." Or I see Harvey ask a question and think, as the miracle question developed, it was sort of being observed.
Okay. Yeah. So you say it's all about techniques. Everybody can learn it.
Yeah.
But it's about how you apply it. What I've noticed that you are very interested in the preferred future, in the wanted state to be in, and the details in that, and less interested in next steps. So how will you notice that you have progressed? And more really having this thick descriptions of a wished for state. So you're leaving things out. So you actually
no
things.
No, I'm just what I found is that when I can still do a scale and ask in small signs, but if you do a very, very, very detailed description of the future, you've included what they would say if you move up the scale 1 point. I just found it was repetitious. So, and that's what led me to actually realize the scale is much more useful to trace the history of the future the client wants. Everything, if somebody's at 4, everything that's between 0 and 4 is part of the history of the future they're looking for. And I see that as a really massively significant part of the approach.
Yeah. And Chris, we don't manage to get much further, unfortunately, but luckily you will be at the opening of the Americas.
Yeah. And I'll also be with Viva doing a group workshop at 5 o'clock on this.
So people can enjoy you a lot more and dive into it. And I'm sorry, it's only scraping the surface in this very few minutes.
It's a pleasure. I'm really honored that you asked me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
for listening.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
The next one we are going to, so there will be a plenary in just a few minutes. Led by Paul Jackson, I know, with Mark Gardiner and Janine Waldman and John Hendon, about SF across boundaries, a panel discussion, which is very interesting. And what I've learned along the way, for instance, that from the field of therapy, I mean, Steve was doing a lot of really exciting work. What I noticed about Insu Kim Berg, that she was really the visionary person. I mean, she took solution focus into schools with her working on what works. What I got to know as well, that she actually started going to coaching conferences because she saw the potential in not just the therapy field, but also in coaching and work in organizations. And she actually asked Peter Szabo to write a book with her about coaching. So this plenary is really interesting because SF across borders, how it's spreading out, how it's getting more and more useful in very different areas and of course now I'm hoping that I understood this plenary right, so I'm not just talking about something else, but this is how what tricked my curiosity on this plenary, which I'm really looking forward to. Before that, the last thing, just last interaction from you participants before I hand you all over to Paul, is I would like you to write your best hopes, since Chris mentioned that, for this conference. Suppose this was really well spent time, as much as you can join this conference. What would tell you afterwards that it was really great to join this conference? What are your best hopes for this one? Could you just give a hint, just a short sentence in the chat? And I know it takes a minute or two.
Thinking time.
Thinking time. And when you look at this room will be open, so you can scroll a bit back and maybe, who knows, somebody's wishing for the same outcome as you want. So maybe you could hook up. Again, this is a community. This is where we network with each other. And it could be someone you know, someone you don't know. For us to connect them. Yes. And I just have one more minute, Paul, then I will hand it over to you.
I see there are a few questions that people are raising in the chat. And if anyone has an answer to some of those questions, they could put them in the chat and direct message the person who asked them as well. So we can be a community resource.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are some really good questions here, and I'm sorry I had to rush over them. Please keep them. Just a little tip, down in the chat box, when you're writing your chat, you have 3 dots again, and you can open them and you can say save chat. Then you can save the chat as a text document with the names of who wrote what. If you want to get back, if you say, oh, this was really interesting, then you can do that and go back. So click 3 dots, all on the right side, save chat, and then you got the information. With this, I thank you very much for your patience, and thanks again to Chris for this very short, intensive talk with me. Of course, it leaves many more questions than answers to anything. But again, you can see and experience Chris several times at this conference. Paul, if there's nothing I forgot, I would leave the word to you.